Welcome back to the main room, everyone. It looks like we've nearly got everyone back. How's it looking?
Yeah, there was a couple, so I might have just lost, a couple might have just dropped off, but we're at 67 again, so I think we're 68, so it might be just...
So great, okay.
Everyone's back.
So welcome back, everyone, to the main room. Hope you enjoyed chats in your groups and got something useful out of that. We're now going to start recording the session if no one's got any objections. For anyone who's watching the recording, you've missed very little so far. If you just read the final details that were sent out with the invite to the event, then that gives you all the information that we've really gone over so far. Everyone's been out in the breakout rooms discussing routes from the Scottish 6 Days map and perhaps discussing simulating techniques. So what I'd like to do now is I will share the map again. There we go. And I'm going to can someone just tell me you can see that?
See the map, yeah.
See the map, great. Then what I'd like to do is just focus on a couple of the legs now and just make that. There we go. And if you feel like, if any of you want to come on and discuss a route that you discussed, or maybe pop things in the chat, please do. So there's a couple of the legs I'd like to look at from 1 to 2. Does anyone feel like stepping up and using the drawing tools, or just talking us through what your group thought about the route to 2? Please volunteer. And I can't see the chat at the minute. Do feel free to use the chat to
pick on a group on, I think.
Paul.
Yeah.
I took an East Midlands route. It looks like Paul Murgatroyd's doing the same thing, actually.
Okay.
So
along the path and.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Paul's done an East Midlands route.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Hilary, for sharing that. Okay. Does anyone want to talk us through 2 to 3? Just feel free to draw as well, or pop comments about it in the chat. I can see someone's picked out a thicket along the way there.
Yeah, we had some inside knowledge of the area, so the thicket was something that somebody was aiming for as part of their plan.
Okay,
yeah.
Thanks, Graham, for glancing off the top of the thicket along the way there. Any other observations on that?
Yeah, we some of us went right down to the bottom gate.
Yep.
And then we thought, oh, it was a crossable fence, so maybe we didn't need to.
So you went via that gate there. Well, why did mine come up in green on this map? Yes, thank you, Carol. I think that was. Okay, yeah. How about, I might just clear those couple because we're going to go back through the same area. How about 5 to 6? Anyone want to share any thoughts on that one? Anyone want to share any thoughts on 5 to 6? Yeah, thanks, Graham, Suzanne.
We had a discussion about whether to use the east or the west route, and the east one, I think was more obvious, but the western route was one we'd used already between 1 and 2.
Yeah,
so there was a discussion about that.
Thank you. Thanks, Moira. I think that was for sharing that. There's lots of people sharing their routes, getting the confidence to use the drawing tools. See it coming to life here. That's great. Thank you so much. Let's have just 2 more routes. 12 to 13, a tricky boulder there, 13. I wonder whether anyone had got that far in the race.
Yeah, I was going to go.
Thanks, Ian and Paul have gone the same way there, and Carol's just gone straight to it. I think. Oh, someone's gone straight to it, but I'm losing. Oh, I don't know where Ant's gone. Okay, thanks very much. That's great. And yeah. Yep, someone using that boulder to come in. Yeah, tricky little one there. Just to finish off, let's have a look at 14 to 15 very quickly if anyone wants to share.
That gave quite a bit of choice, didn't it?
Yes. Yeah, some quite different routes there.
It was horrific on the day. Everyone piled into that area and no one had a clue where they were. No one slowed. Loads of people didn't slow down basically, or read it enough detail.
What's the area
including
called?
me.
So we'll I think thank you for sharing your routes, and I hope that's really brought this someone's just got straight there. That's great. Maybe that was the thing to do. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing that now. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on that. And what I'm hoping is this forest starting to come to life for us here as we do this. And so what I'm going to do now is share something else, which is Route Gadget. This is Auchengarrick. I'll just check that people can see the Route Gadget screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is here on the M16 course, we've got GPS from Jim Bailey here and Joe Sunley. So I'm just going to take you through a little bit of their race, and hopefully that brings things to life again. So if I just do that. So here we go on 1 to 2, and I think we'll see here a difference. So Joe takes what Hilary called the Midlands route here, I think, or was it Jim? No, it's Jim that took the Midlands route along the path to that clearing and straight to it. Seems to have gone quite well. A number of people tried a straighter route. I also got lost where Joe did there on those vegetation boundaries. So the path route looked quite good there. I asked you to talk through 3, and I think people have used both Joe and Jim used the vegetation on the way up there as people were suggesting. So Jim's comfortably ahead of Joe at this point, as you can see, and then progressing on to 4 and then 5. So and then when they get there, we'll have a look at 5 to 6 was the next one I asked you to look at. And we'll see here.
Well, you could bunch them up and do start at 5, and then you'll see them both doing it together, maybe.
It's okay like this.
Okay, fair enough.
I've done this one before, but thanks for the suggestion, because look what happened. Jim's gone to the right, interesting route right along the fence there, and look what happens. Joe, I think people liked that western route along the path, crag to help pull you in, and look, Joe's just about caught Jim up on that route. So thanks for the suggestion on the bunching, but I think it really came to life how Joe's choice there was good. As we progress around here, just a bit of sort of shorter legs there, then Jim always just loses concentration. A bit of an easy bit here. Oh dear, I've run into a gorge. And then on. So now they're neck and neck, which you wouldn't have thought back at 4. So that route to 6 made a big difference. And then coming around here, a bit of heavy weather of that, Joe. And I'll stop when we get to 13. Because this is where the race is over. If anyone's looked at the times at the end, I think Joe must think he's hit these clearings near the control doesn't he? And he's looking up and down them for quite a while. And the object of this is not to mock poor Joe, but to thank him and Jim for sharing their GPS data so we can see this stuff. And I really hope, I think Joe basically gives up at this point. I hope that watching them out there brings this really to life, and for those of us who are there will remember the forest, and hopefully you feel you're out in Scotland or Sweden rather than locked down in Leicester or London at this point. So I'm going to stop sharing that there, and it's like the Bermuda Triangle. So I'm stopping presenting there. Hopefully, as I say, that the series of things I took you through there will have brought this forest to life, even though you're sat in your living rooms. And although I think armchair orienteering has real value, I think trying to get ourselves more physical and thinking out in the forest is really important too. So we've got some time left now, and I just wondered whether anyone wanted to share more general observations on this idea of sort of bringing Sweden or Scotland or technical terrain into. I'm thinking, like a lot of us now, will be going, hopefully when this lockdown lifts, we'll still be back limited in terms of travel. We'll be in our local. I know there's some people on here who have got this quality terrain in their back garden, or in that we saw some in Aviemore just the other night, very jealous, beautiful woods just in the town. But for most of us who don't have that, I still think you could, do this kind of thing, go to a very straightforward little local wood, and rather than trying to make it technically difficult when it's not, is use some maps from elsewhere and get people running on Swedish maps or Scottish maps whilst just running in terrain. So that's just basically as simple as that, my idea. And just want to give other people a chance to share things you were discussing in your groups, ideas you've got, things you're doing in your clubs with your squads or whatever. And
Paul, it's Ian here.
Ian,
just a sort of side point. You talked about Sweden, and I guess it's Scandinavia in general. The danger for Brits, I think, going there is to see how fast the Scandinavians run and try and match them. And you have to remember that they're doing orienteering at school. Lots of the terrain is foreign to us, but lots of the areas are actually pretty regularly used in Scandinavia. So lots of areas they know pretty well. And technically they're quite good. Certainly in Stockholm, where I lived 5-6 years, the tendency is just to run straight all the time. So I think it comes back to this not being distracted. I think people have drawn their routes, and what you've got to do is stick to them. And not get pulled away by all these local people who are very fast and going different routes because they've got different technical ability. You must run the course that suits you to your ability.
Thanks for sharing that, Ian. And yeah, I mean, going straight can often be good, but you still need to plan for it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. So if anyone else, don't be shy. Do step in and do use the chat.
It's Nicola here.
Hi, Nicola.
Into the chat. Two ideas from our group. One was about using it as part of a intervals on terrain run, where you plan on the run and then you do a fast interval. That could be on hills or it can be on the flat, but sort of practicing the picture stage that Mark Nixon was talking about, as well as doing the planning. So plan and then picture. And then the other really good idea was around using map reading on the run while also doing a compass exercise in the park, where you're just sort of practicing again. You're doing another type of thing and trying to plan at the same time. So those were two ideas from our group. I don't know whether anyone else from Group 7 wants to feed in on that.
Thanks so much for sharing. Does anyone want to add to what Nicola just shared there? No, that's great. And just to reinforce what you said there, Nicola, Pete Triner, who's helping me with the host today, we even did something in the school hall with sort of compass bearings around the hall and trying to read a map at the same time, even on that small scale. Thanks for sharing.
I was
I was going to say something.
Go Suzanne, and then there was someone else wanted to come in as well. So let's go to Suzanne.
Quite a few of us in our group are getting more senior, and we said that as your eyesight deteriorates, it gets increasingly difficult to read a map on the run. Gets increasingly difficult to read a map full stop, but it's particularly difficult on the run, sort of. We were saying that sometimes you actually don't even see some of the options, despite your magnifier and your your bifocals and everything.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I'm sure I'm starting to have that problem too.
Did they have any
That's my excuse anyway.
Yeah, was there any solutions? Did anybody come up with any ideas, Suzanne? No.
Not really. I mean, I use a magnifier on my compass personally. I find that's best because I find glasses jiggle up and down. But I'm starting to find that I need glasses as well as a magnifier now.
I mean, I guess just being aware of it's important, isn't it? Because maybe it's just making sure that you find the time to slow down enough so that you don't miss a good plan. Yeah.
So I read, well, fairly recently read Michel Georgiou's book. So Thierry's dad, The Winning Eye, and it's he's trained as an optometrist, and he's got this whole section on kind of what happens to the eye and why you're able to, as a junior, be able to view the map in really good detail, even at 1/15,000. But as you get older, your lens stiffens up basically, and it can't adjust as quickly as it can when you're younger. I had some options, but also within that book was what Paul was referring to earlier. Was they in that area of France they came up with a variety of exercises to really tackle this problem of not having access to kind of like world-class terrain, and recognizing that if you want to be a good orienteer, you basically need to do orienteering. So they were really pushing the whole kind of concept of if you want to be a good orienteer, every time you do a training session, you're wasting that training session if you're not doing some form of orienteering.
Mm-hmm.
So they came up with lots of different ways of simulating orienteering training. And so we're talking about intervals there, and if you could do, they split it with different intervals where you were doing some map reading during the interval, but recognizing the idea there is that you're increasing the maximum pace that you can run whilst navigating, and then the switch to that is to do the interval but do the map reading in the rest period, so that you're able to really push the physical part of the interval, but yet still doing some orienteering practice training in the rest period. And again, depending on what you're trying to get out of the session is which way you did it. So yeah,
thanks, Pete. And someone's posted the name of the book in the chat, so thank you. That's great. Sounds really interesting. And I'm also seeing some great tips. Trying to read a map whilst on a wobble board sounds might be a challenge too far for me, but yeah, what a great idea. People are discussing contact lenses and how to solve the problem another way. Thanks for that.
Anyone else? Ray's solution there. Different contact lens for each eye. Yeah, that must take some getting used to.
I think it works for some people and not for others, doesn't it? But yeah.
Don't try driving afterwards and forgetting to take them out.
Best answer is to have a larger scale map. I know that's my little thing, but it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember when I was an M21 many years ago, wondering why all these old people moaned about the 1/15,000 maps, and now I agree with Carol. Julia. Oh, when we were younger and marking up from master maps, and you had a bit of extra time for route planning. Yes, indeed. Anyone else want to come in with any suggestions, observations, comments? We're actually just right on the hour, but I think we're allowed another 15 minutes. So I won't be offended if you leave now. Thanks for being here, but we can keep this discussion going if anyone's got anything more to contribute.
There's some suggestions from our group about using comics with juniors. So they've got something on the run to read. A map on its own sometimes might quite quickly get through the course and then discard it and you're just back to running. And so that was one idea. And then there was a suggestion about maybe taking several maps, so you could maybe have a look at a couple of legs on one map and switch to another map, just to keep that interest and make it a bit more real, and doing it in those kind of
that's thank you, Fran. Did you say I had another suggestion?
I think the other one, just looking at doing loops of controls. There were some other ones. Yeah, people were talking about Venice street map and.
Yeah.
You know how to turn the thing on.
And I think there's some interesting
Where
things
was
we can.
Riley's bed?
I think there's some interesting things we can do with urban as well, but where you can but maybe for another day. I think it's a different sort of thing, but where we can be more objective about which is the best route and whatever, which you can't do so much in the forest.
Hillary's added one into the chat as well. I don't know, Hillary, if you want to expand a bit on the interval session theme.
You're on mute, Hillary.
There, okay.
I can't see Hillary, but
yeah, there we are. When Nicola was talking about intervals, I was thinking about maybe you could do the fast running, reading the map, and then in the interval when you're resting, in inverted commas, sort of drawing a bit of a simplified map, and that kind of that links back to the Georgios, because that's a big thing of Thierry's, wasn't it, about simplifying the maps? And it was something that Mark was talking about the other day as well.
Some really interesting, the link to intervals, and it sounds really intuitively sounds really good to me. Thanks for all these ideas. Any more map memory with a running friend from Will? Did you want to Will expand on that?
I mean, I guess we all know map memory, but I think if you're running with someone and you've both got the same map, and then you can just look at a leg and then describe it to your running partner, and they've got the map to just check it off and see how you did it. Then your friend just does the next leg. And I find that if I run with a map, I get stuck quite easily, and so this is just a way of keeping the sort of pressure on to advance to the next leg. You can sometimes spend half an hour trying to plan one leg.
yeah.
It should have taken 40 seconds.
So these are ideas. It's a bit like the comics thing. It's just to stop us getting bogged down in and giving up probably at some point. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Stan used to set a timer as well on his watch for 40 seconds or 30 seconds, I think it was. And every time the buzzer went off, he'd have to move on.
This is all really great advice and really helpful. Thank you.
An idea.
Angela, sorry, is someone speaking?
Carol, wasn't it?
Carol, and then I'll get Angela in as well.
Okay, just I think what's quite good is to go into the BOF YouTube, like the Run Fast, Run Hard, Go Orienteering, and play one or two of them. And the beginning, particularly when you see like the elites running through the forest and they don't stop, and to sort of take that on board, it's sort of like on a world champions O-top, isn't it? And that you're them, and then you go off to your orienteering event with that in your head. So that's how you're going to orienteer. You're not going to stop. You're going to run like the elite,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I maybe could have incorporated that into this evening, couldn't I? Before I played the route gadget, I could have kind of like, let's run. Thank you, Carol. That's really great. Angela, did you want to come in and expand on? I mean, I agree with what you put there. I think that,
Yeah, I think it's a question really. If you've got somebody who isn't so confident, reading the map on the run, any suggestions on the best ways to progress? Is it, I don't know, is it better to start with an easy map, an easy course, or?
Yeah, the thing Pete did when in the sports hall was quite good, and it just had some little competitions to do on the way round. So, you know, as you're going from 1 to 2, what feature would you see on the left and things like that. So yeah, much more straightforward. But yeah, I mean, as I say, the reason we went for Scotland rather than Sweden was, I mean, I know that was a challenging race, but we didn't want to make it too hard. But other people may have suggestions or comments on that. Anything else anyone wants to contribute? Okay. Nick Barrable to everyone, get them reading it whilst walking, then slowly speed them up. That sounds extremely sensible, Nick. Do feel free to unmute if you want to talk to us.
I do think it's something, certainly the juniors who are progressing from like orange, you know, onto orange and light green, generally they're pretty rubbish at running in terrain, let alone reading a map when they're running in terrain. You know, you're forever shadowing them, telling them to pick their feet up because they keep on falling over. So just getting them to run in terrain more first, I suppose, before you then start, you know, and just telling them to stop, to look at the map, and then you just slowly build that up, I guess, would be the way to do it.
One of the ideas that I'm now thinking about for our coaching sessions is starting to introduce the physical skills earlier, even if younger children don't have the navigation. Perhaps they can start to practice the technique of getting through terrain so that when they get onto the more technical courses, it's less difficult for them.
Yep. And
I can't remember who posted the links to the Norwegian or Swedish videos, but there's a really nice one there of an exercise where the group were all playing football but in the heather, and just the youngsters weren't really thinking, oh, I'm learning to run through terrain, but it was just building that confidence much earlier. And then I think maybe you have them playing football whilst planning a route, I don't know, but you see what I mean? There were some really nice ideas for that idea of really thinking about the physical skills that we need to teach in orienteering, not just the technical navigation skills.
And not just the fitness aspect of physical, but the agility and balance aspects of it as well. Yeah.
I know we talk about the ABCs, but just trying to think. So I'm thinking of introducing a new chart called Orienteering Challenges, where it sets a challenge each week for the virtual group to go out and try. And the first one, for example, is going to be called Tree Balancer. And then there's one Forest Runner, and you set maybe intervals that link to that, and obviously appropriate for the age. And you know, so yes, if it's that you're still at the ABCs, but then you might make it more. So because I think that is an issue for us, that we don't really think about that training. We tend to rely on the athletics clubs to do the physical training for us, and I now want to try and bring that into our sessions more.
Yeah,
great, thanks.
What people forget, and has been statistically proved, is that kids are actually weaker now than they were. And because we're all orienteers and reasonably fit, we forget that a lot of people out there, especially young kids who don't come from an orienteering family, just don't have that proprioception. They're not out in the countryside, they're not playing in the woods and stuff like that, and they're just not as strong as our kids were. You know, there's a decline in strength. It's a major problem, and schools aren't really addressing it. So it's something that I think as orienteering clubs, which I've gone on about before when I did a presentation a couple of years back, we actually have to work quite hard at getting people, kids and adults, fit enough to actually orienteer in terrain. A useful site for young kids is Spiderfit Kids. Right, there's a Facebook page, and if you go to the Facebook page, he puts on regular 2-minute videos about games and stuff to work with younger kids up to about 12 years old.
Hamish, can you write it in the chat what that was called?
Yeah, that'd be great. Of course, it just broke up at the critical moment. If you pop it in the chat, that'd be great. Thanks for sharing that, Hamish.
It's really good. If you get onto his Facebook page, then you get lots of little videos.
Thank you. Okay, we're getting close to the end of the session. Has anyone got any final pearls of wisdom to share? I mean, go on. Go, Carol.
When I'm running a session like this, which I'm about to embark on, I quite like just unmuting and talking like I am now, compared with writing in the chat, which is okay. So is there a better, is one better than the other, or?
Well, I do a lot of this kind of stuff because I'm a university lecturer. So I think just offering a mixture. Some people are scared of unmuting and will use the chat. I mean, it depends a bit how good you are at monitoring the chat. It can get, when you're presenting, it's quite tricky if you've got people putting their hands up and just jumping in and using the chat. But if you can manage that, I think it's good to offer both. And I think we've seen this evening that some people have shared things in the chat that were really valuable, and maybe they didn't really want to come into a room full of 70 people and share them. So I think I would say using both is good. But it's great. Thank you nevertheless, Carol. It's great to see your face and hear you chipping in. So thank you for doing that, and for everyone else who's spoken up. That's been really great.
Giving them the confidence, isn't it, the juniors especially, if some of them are a bit uncomfortable, is giving them a bit of a simpler question for them to just,
yeah, I think
get the confidence up.
The drawing tools bring them to life. And you'll get some good routes, but also some interesting, for the younger ones, you get some interesting little pictures and things drawn on your map as well. But they like the drawing tools a lot, so you will get them sharing their routes. And I think we saw as we were going through that part that people got more confident. I'm going to put my route. I'm going to put my route on. So that, I think that works really well.
Carol mentioned some links and I missed them. I wonder, could she put them in the chat so that I can just note them down?
Yeah, that'd be great. If anyone's mentioned any links to resources and things like that, if you could just pop them in the chat, that would be really valuable. And we can leave the chat open for a few minutes to capture any of that. Okay, does it feel like we're nearly done, Peter?
Yeah, I think that's us about out there. Unless there's any more comments, anybody has got some burning one, but I think we are about wrapped up. I think just while there's the links being added in, just give a quick mention about there's a session next Tuesday that we added on. It's an addition to the original program that's been added and discussed. So the session, if you've not seen it, titled "What is a Coach?" and a look at what modern coaching entails. So that'll be taking place next Tuesday at 7:30. The registration link is on the British Orienteering conference page, and there'll be some further social media posts and articles going out over the weekend before that. But yeah, so that'll be another one, and that will wrap up the coaching sessions that we've been running throughout.
Right. Well, I think we're done. So it was great to see everyone, by the way. I hope to see you all back in a proper forest, not a simulated one before too long.
Oh, thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Yeah, thanks everyone, and yeah, we'll see you all soon. Thanks, Paul and Pete, for helping out tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pete. Very, very valuable support.
So you need two. Having two people always makes it a little bit easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening. See you soon, hopefully.
There we go. Yeah, everybody's disappearing. Got some really good comments and interaction. I thought it was good tonight.